Every fighter knows that cardio is king. The fighter that has the most cardio, that can push their opponent into the deep end with relentless pressure, can steal their opponent's soul and have a long, dominating career. What most fighters don't know is that cardio isn't just about the workouts that we do. Anybody can work hard. Anybody can go on runs and do sprints and work harder and harder and harder and harder. But this isn't going to build the relentless cardio to have a long, successful career. In fact, the fastest way to build fight cardio isn't by doing a workout, but it's what we do in between workouts. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the number one thing that you can do today to fast track your cardio and start dominating your opponents, start dominating your fights. Stick around. What's going on? I'm Coach Adam, the co-founder and director of sport performance for Counter-Strike Combat Sports. In today's video, I am going to be breaking down the number one thing that you can do to fast track your cardio. You can do it today. You're going to see immediate results and start having a dominating career in the fight game. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the fight science knowledge that we're dropping on the channel. And if you're digging what we're doing, please give the video a like, show some support, show some love so we can impact, we can influence as many fighters around the world as possible. So fight cardio, it's a big topic. Fighters are obsessed with it in every sport, from jiu-jitsu to boxing to MMA to Muay Thai. Every fighter wants to have incredible cardio. Every fighter is looking for the secret to unlocking incredible cardio. And it doesn't just come down to working out, it comes down to what we measure and what we track in between our workouts. At Counter-Strike, we believe in data-driven, heart rate-based conditioning. This is like the GPS that's going to guide us to relentless cardio. And my favorite metric that we track with all of our athletes, we've used this with UFC guys like Mike Trizano and Julio Arce to help them become some of the most conditioned fighters on the planet, is something called heart rate recovery. So in the video today, we're going to be breaking down exactly what heart rate recovery is, why heart rate recovery is important, how to test and find out what your heart rate recovery is sitting at, what can impact our heart rate recovery, and then what can improve our heart rate recovery. So to get started, first and foremost, what is heart rate recovery? It's pretty simple. It's just our ability, our heart's ability, to come down from a very high level of exertion back down to normal, back down to rest. So how does this relate to a fight? Let's say it's an MMA fight and we're doing 3 5-minute rounds. We push the pace hard for 5 minutes. Anybody can push the pace hard for 5 minutes. If you're absolutely gassed going into the second round, you're done. The fight's over, you lost. What heart rate recovery allows us to do is fully recover in between the rounds of the fight. So we fight for 5 minutes, we have a 1-minute rest period. If my heart can come down from near max, let's say 180 beats per minute, to near rest, let's say 120 beats per minute. My heart rate recovery is insane. If my heart rate can go lower faster than my opponent's, I'm going to have insane cardio going into the next round, and I'm going to be able to dominate them. And not just related to fighting, but in health in general, heart rate recovery is a metric that shows how healthy our heart is. It's not enough just to win fights, we gotta live for a long time too. So if we have a low heart rate recovery, if it takes a long time for our heart rate to come down, our heart isn't very healthy, and our heart has to work really hard to supply blood, supply oxygen to our body, and keep us alive. So not only is it a great metric of performance, but it's also a great metric of health. We understand why heart rate recovery is important. So how do we determine what our heart rate recovery is and what the best heart rate recovery should be to dominate in the fight game? So my favorite way to measure our heart rate recovery is with a 6-minute run test. It's easy to do. Anybody can do it from anywhere. So you're gonna strap your shoes on and you're gonna run as far, as hard, as fast as you can in 6 minutes. At the end of that 6-minute run, you're going to write down what your heart rate is. Then you're going to rest for 1 minute. At the end of that 1 minute rest, you're going to record what your heart rate was. Then you're going to subtract the 1 minute recovery heart rate from the end of the workout heart rate. So let's say at the end of the workout, at the end of the 6-minute run, your heart rate's at 180 beats per minute. And at the end of the 1 minute recovery, your heart rate's at 120 beats per minute. If we subtract that 120 from that 180, we're looking at a number of 60. That's your heart rate recovery number. That number is 60. So what is a high level elite heart rate recovery? Well, for my fighters, I'm looking for a heart rate recovery between 50 and 60. This is high level. If you can bring your heart rate down from 180 or 170 beats per minute all the way down to 130 or 120 beats per minute, your heart rate comes down so quick, you have great control over your heart rate, and you're going to be ready to dominate in the next round. Okay, so we have our heart rate recovery, we tested it, we know what it is. It might be great, it might be not so great. What are some things that impact our heart rate recovery? Because working out alone isn't the only factor. We have a ton of different stressors in our life that can impact how well our heart can recover, because at the end of the day, heart rate recovery is also a great marker of how we handle stress. So if we're dehydrated, our heart rate recovery is going to be lower. It's going to be harder for our heart rate to recover. If we have a lot of stress or fatigue in our life, maybe we're not recovering well, maybe we're dealing with things outside of training that are stressing us out, this is going to impact our ability to recover and for our heart rate to come down at a quick level. If we consume a lot of caffeine throughout the day, this is going to increase our heart rate. It's going to make our heart work harder, and it's going to make it much more difficult for our heart to recover, especially in between rounds of a fight. And finally, poor training, right? If you have poor training quality, if you're not doing the right kind of workouts for your sport, then obviously your heart rate is not going to be able to recover at a high level. So these are just some of the factors that impact our heart rate recovery. They're things to really keep in mind, but what you're here for, this is the key. How do we improve our heart rate recovery? I know you're sitting there, coach, I get it. I know what heart rate recovery is. I know why it's important. I know where my heart rate recovery stands. Now, how do I improve it? My favorite way to improve heart rate recovery is with what we call the heart rate recovery interval. So we're going to simulate a fight. We're going to do 3 5-minute rounds on your cardio equipment of choice. It can be a bike, you can run, it could be a rower, whatever you prefer. We're gonna go 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off, okay? 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off, and we're gonna hit it hard for 5 minutes. At the end of that 5-minute round, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna put our phone in front of us so we can see our heart rate, wearing a heart rate monitor, and we're going to focus on breathing. I'm going to breathe in through my nose and down through my rib cage. I'm going to hold it and I'm gonna breathe out slow. And I'm gonna repeat that, in through my nose, down through my rib cage, and then breathe out slow. You notice a couple things. First, my hands on my stomach so I can make sure that my rib cage is expanding. You're also going to notice that my shoulders and my chest aren't rising. What happens a lot is we get done a round and we sit down in our corner and we're breathing heavy. We're gasping for air. We're trying to get as much oxygen into our body as possible. But this shallow breathing up through our chest, it's more fatiguing. It's not controlled, and it's going to make you more tired than if we sat there and we controlled our breathing. So we sit down, in through our nose, out through our mouth, down through our rib cage, and it's controlled. And we're going to breathe until our heart rate is down to 120 beats per minute. I don't care if it takes 1 minute. I don't care if it takes 3 minutes. You're gonna have the discipline to sit there until your heart rate comes down to 120 beats per minute. What this is going to do over time, your heart rate recovery is going to improve. Let's say the first time you do this, it took you 3 minutes. Maybe the next week you repeat the intervals and now it took you 2.5 minutes. You're going to start to understand how to control your breath, how to bring your heart rate down. And eventually, when you're in the ring, when you're sparring, You're not even going to need a heart rate monitor. You're going to know what it feels like to use your breath and use your brain to bring your heart rate down. This is one of the very first things I do with all of our athletes on the Counter-Strike system. Within their first week of training with us, they see incredible transformations to their cardio. So there you have it. Heart rate recovery is a data-driven, science-backed, proven approach to fast-tracking your cardio. I guarantee you do this for a couple weeks and you're going to see massive improvements to your cardio, whether you're hitting the pads, whether you're grappling, whether you're sparring, whether you have a fight coming up, your gas tank is going to be transformed. Remember, the work that we do is useless if we are not recovering from it. So doing more and more and more hard work for the sake of hard work is not going to make you great. Having a data-driven, science-backed approach to your training is what's going to take your performance, take your fight game to the next level, and it's going to ensure that you leave nothing to chance. That's all I got for you in this video. Like I said in the beginning, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell, make sure you continue to level your game up, hit the like button, and I want to know in the comments down below, what is your favorite workout for fight cardio? Let me know down there. We'll talk soon. Peace.